Hi, this is Mike Connors with ICOSA Media here at the Global New Energy Summit at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. And I am with Dan Fresenmeyer with GE Energy. And Dan was on the panel for Green Jobs. And Dan, I guess my first question would be, what exactly is a green job?
That's a great question. The panel, we actually talked about the true definition, and I think there's one that has to deal with process for something green, and then the other is for production. But up until 2 weeks ago, I never considered myself a green job. In fact, I am. So to me, a green job is you look at things that are green, whether it's green power or energy savings, energy efficiency, and I think to me personally, anything in that supply chain would classify as a green job.
And you're working primarily in the renewables division, I believe, wind power. So what are some of the most common challenges that you see in the industry for your customers transitioning to these new renewable energies?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that the industry, even wind, we think it's fairly commonplace these days, but it really got its start in late 90s, early 2000s. So we've been around maybe 15 years, which is still very immature. And I think finding people that have been through a few up and down cycles is hard, so that the general industry experience is lacking. You know, people that have been in the industry forever have been there maybe 10 years, whereas you look at coal or gas, people have been there for 50, 60 plus years. So I think just the natural lack of experience from an emerging industry, and I think solar's not too far behind wind, and I think they're still a little less mature than wind is.
Yeah, I think one of the panelists discussed that the up and down cycles have been tough to recruit. From a lot of uncertainty in the industry, it seems that is leveling off and becoming a little more predictable. But what are some of the other maybe trends that you see globally for the emergence of green jobs?
There's two major trends that I see, and I think GE sees. Number one is demand for electricity is expected to double by 2030. So that means it's going to be generated by traditional sources and new sources, and there's plenty of room, in my opinion, for both. The second element in terms of a global trend is if you look at country renewable portfolio standards. Here in the U.S., we've had a number of states driving that. The EU has driven that as well. Now you're starting to see it shift to China, Asia, even the Middle East. And those countries are starting with renewable portfolio standards. I believe 98 countries have some renewable portfolio standard, and that's double since '05. So I think those two trends, underlying demand growth and renewable portfolio standards, will lead ultimately to green jobs.
Okay. And just out of my own curiosity, are you seeing more demand in any particular sector, whether that is solar, wind, biofuel, for more growth than perhaps some of the other sectors?
Well, I think in the near-term growth we see in wind and followed by solar. Longer term, I think it's hard to see what the next technology is going to be. Because I think, like I said before, wind and solar are more mature at this point, therefore, and it's almost gone mainstream. I think solar's getting very close to going mainstream. So once you hit that, then obviously you'll have growth, not necessarily in terms of percentage growth, but a small percent of a large piece.
Okay. And kind of following on that, what are some of the innovations, speaking of technology, a couple of the innovations with wind technology that you're really excited about?
Yeah, wind is very interesting. I think the efficiency, if you will, of a wind turbine has gone up about 50% over the last 5 years. And that's primarily driven by larger blades, very simple, but difficult to make those blades. I think you also start seeing taller towers, although you end up with certain limitations on towers because of aircraft and birds and such. So I think the efficiency will continue in the swept area. Noise is becoming an issue, so that you'll see noise go down. I think you'll see the life of the inside components getting better, which will not necessarily increase efficiency that much, but it'll lower the lifetime cost, which is important.
I understand an initial problem has been gearboxes burning out, and I would think that that's one area where the technology has really advanced.
It has, and in fact, when GE acquired the business originally, that was the first problem to solve, was failing gearboxes, and the cost of it is enormous because you have to bring out a crane, get that gearbox out, drop it down. Some manufacturers have gone to direct drive technologies. We're looking at one. I don't think we're pursuing it. We've focused more on how do we improve the gearbox. How do we study every failure and understand what are the causes of? And between conditioning monitoring systems that can measure everything from the temperature of the oil to some of the gears, you can see what's coming before you have a failure. And between that and just taking a Six Sigma approach of quality rigor in the gearboxes, we've gotten a gearbox that you would put in today. Or put it this way, if you had a wind farm, you can expect 20% replacement on that farm. So 1 in 5 will be a gearbox. Now that sounds like a lot, but in the past it used to be 200%. Wow. So that's a big improvement, and I think you'll see it continue to go that way.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us. This is Michael Connors with the ICOSA Media Group, and we're at the Global New Energy Summit in Colorado Springs. Thanks for watching.